How many years have you lived like a shadow, careful with every word, constantly on guard not to be judged, smiling just enough to keep everyone comfortable? But the more you try to do things right, the further you drift from who you really are. The more you chase approval, the more you lose your freedom. That's not living, it's performing. And the crowd you're performing for, they've never clapped for you from the heart. If you're tired of pretending to be strong, if it feels like you're living a life that doesn't belong to you, then it's time to stop. Stop to look yourself in the eye, stop to let go, and stop to start living for real. In this video, you'll uncover 10 core principles that will help you break out of the invisible cage called social expectations, so you can reclaim your life. Watch it all the way through if you've got the guts to change. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and like if you're new here. It helps me keep bringing you more valuable content. You've been lied to since you were a kid. Not by some distant villain, but by the people who love you most. Your parents, your teachers, your friends, the media, an entire society that loudly preaches about how to live the right way. But in truth, they weren't teaching you how to live free. They were teaching you how to be easy to manage. As a kid, you were rewarded for being obedient, for doing what adults expected. You were praised when you played the part, fit the mold. As you grew up, the invisible race continued. You picked a safe degree, chased a respectable job, got married at the right time, and followed a life script society labeled as good. But step back and ask yourself, how much of what you've done actually came from you, and how much was just an attempt to avoid judgment? You don't make decisions, you dodge disapproval. And somewhere in that constant retreat, you lost yourself. You started dressing like everyone else, speaking in ways that pleased the crowd, smiling when you wanted to scream, and staying silent when your soul was begging to speak. You've edited your real self down just to fit the mold society built. And now you wonder why you feel empty. Other people's opinions are the sweetest prison there is. No bars, no locks, just the constant fear of stepping out of line. You have every right to live differently, but you gave it up because you were afraid of being rejected, afraid of not being liked, afraid of being called weird. But here's the kicker. The very people you're trying to impress, they're too busy trying to impress someone else. No one's really paying attention to how you live. And if they are, that attention is as shallow as a scroll through social media. Are you really trading your entire life just to be glanced at for a second? If you want freedom, you have to let go of the need to be approved. Let them think you're weird, awkward, wrong. That's the price of freedom, and it's a price worth paying. Because the worst thing isn't being misunderstood. The worst thing is losing yourself just to be accepted. Approval is a psychological drug. It gives you a high for a moment, but what follows is a long-term addiction. The more praise you get, the more afraid you become of losing it. The more you're admired, the more you worry about being turned on. And somewhere along the way, you stop acting on what's right and start acting just to stay liked. That's why so many people are successful, yet still anxious. They build their entire lives chasing applause, a nod of approval, a pat on the back from someone they deem important. They're not living, they're negotiating with every glance. They're not creating value, they're constantly adjusting themselves just to stay in favor. Montaigne once wrote, "Happiness doesn't come from controlling everything, but from letting go of the need to control." That applies perfectly to approval. When you no longer need others to agree with you, only then can you act from your core, with no hesitation, no flattery, no facade. Letting go of the need for approval doesn't mean living carelessly or being reckless. It means living according to what you believe in, even when no one claps. It means speaking the truth, even when the truth is unpopular. It means walking alone when the crowd chooses the wrong path. That's not arrogance. That's liberation. When you stop needing people's approval, they lose the power to control you. When you stop seeking their acceptance, you finally face the mirror and see someone you yourself respect. That kind of freedom, no political system, no religion, no society can give you. It only comes when you let go. And remember this, people might cheer for you today and reject you tomorrow. If your value is tied to them, then you don't own anything real. But if your value comes from within, no one can take it away. You want freedom? Don't chase approval. Chase truth. And stand by it, even if you have to stand alone. The more you try to be attractive, the more ridiculous you look. The harder you work to be liked, the more fake you become. That you're putting out there isn't your real self. It's a carefully edited version, polished, safe, and boring. You want someone to like you? That's not it. What you're really chasing is the desperate need to prove you're good enough. But here's the truth. Real attraction doesn't come from perfection. It comes from not trying so damn hard. The most magnetic people are those who don't care about being magnetic. They don't need to be liked. They don't need validation. They live by their own standards. And if someone doesn't like it, they're unbothered. That's the kind of energy people can't look away from. On the flip side, have you ever felt exhausted from playing a role? Smiling more than you need to, trying to be nice, trying to seem smart, polite, interesting, while knowing damn well inside that this isn't you? That's a mask. And you've worn it so long, you're starting to forget the face underneath. Being real isn't about being raw or rude. It's the courage to stop pretending. It's when you're unafraid to say, I don't know, when you own up to mistakes, when you stop needing to always be right. When you strip away the performance, what's left is the real you. And nothing is more magnetic than that. Want to be attractive? Stop trying to be someone else. Stop living like a beta version of an ad campaign. Return to your raw self. Rough around the edges, imperfect, but real. People don't need perfection. They need someone real they can trust. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to be liked, that's when people start truly liking you. The exhaustion you're feeling doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from thinking too much about things that aren't worth thinking about. You're carrying weight that doesn't belong to you. The gaze of others, your parents' expectations, society's standards, outcomes that haven't happened, what-if scenarios, and imaginary conversations in your head. You're not living in the present. You're trapped in a mental chaos you call preparing for the future. But the truth is, the future is controlling you. Modern men are taught they must control everything. Finances, emotions, relationships, career, image, every word they say. But the more they try to control, the more control they lose. Life doesn't follow a script. Reality won't wait for you to finish directing before the curtain rises. You think you're being responsible, but you're not. You're obsessed with the possibility of failure. That fear eats you alive. You don't allow yourself to relax because you're afraid of being seen as lazy. You can't say no because you're afraid of being disliked. You don't even breathe easy because you fear falling behind. And you call that drive? Don't confuse effort with anxiety. A man who puts in effort focuses on action. An anxious man drowns in speculation. The more you obsess over what you can't control, the more you lose the only thing you can, yourself, right now. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means clearing the noise from your mind, turning off the crowd's voice in your head, stopping the overanalysis and the made-up disasters that don't exist, accepting that not everything has to be clear, not every emotion has to make sense. Inner freedom doesn't come from external victories. It comes from internal silence. It shows up when your mind no longer gets yanked around by petty worries, what-if traps, or overthought strategies, masked as wisdom but rooted in fear. Want peace of mind? Stop trying to fix everything. Learn to let things pass without letting them disturb your inner stillness. Perfection is an illusion. You chase it your whole life only to realize it never existed. But in chasing it, you miss the things that actually matter: experience, growth, and freedom. You're afraid of making mistakes, you're afraid of failure, you're afraid of being laughed at. So you overplan, polish every detail, and delay every decision until it feels good enough. But that fear is what's killing you. It's killing your courage. It's killing your creativity. It's killing your ability to truly live. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "Don't try to control what isn't within your control." Yet here you are, trying to control everything. People's emotions, outcomes at work, public opinion, market reactions, all because you want things to go right. But life isn't a formula. It's chaos, it's change, it's uncertainty. You can't outsmart reality. Wisdom doesn't come from always being right. It comes from accepting that you might be wrong. It comes from facing failure head-on, no denial, no blame, no excuses, and learning from it. Every fall is a new chapter. Every scar is a lesson burned into your experience. A man who isn't perfect but owns his missteps is always more trustworthy than one who pretends to know it all. Here's the problem. You were taught wrong, that mistakes mean failure, and losing control means weakness. But it's the opposite. The weak man tries to control what he can't. The strong man accepts the chaos and keeps moving. You don't need to have answers for everything. You don't need to look like you've got it all together. You just need the courage to live honestly, the patience to learn from your bruises, and the humility to admit you're still learning every single day. Want to grow up? Stop trying to be perfect. Start being real. That's where wisdom begins. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you find this video helpful. It's the best way to support me in creating more valuable content. You're not imprisoned by anyone but yourself, and the guard keeping you locked up is fear, not fear of death, not fear of pain, but the mental trash society has shoved into your head, fear of being judged, rejected, or failing. You don't speak your truth because you're afraid people won't agree. You don't chase what you really want because you're afraid it won't work. You don't walk away from what's suffocating you because you're afraid there's nothing better out there. But be honest. When was the last time someone judged you and you actually died? When was the last time rejection shattered your world? When was the last time you failed and couldn't stand back up? You've survived all of it, yet you've learned nothing. You still let fear lead the way. That's not caution, that's surrender. People say you need to be brave, but courage doesn't mean fearlessness. It means you act despite being afraid. You speak up, even if you might get laughed at. You pursue what matters to you, even if people walk away. You fail, get back up, fail again, and still don't quit. Being stoic isn't about being emotionless. It's about facing fear without running. It's knowing that judgment only has power if you hand it over. Rejection only stings if you define yourself by someone else's approval. Failure only scares you if you treat it like the end instead of information. The issue isn't that you're afraid, it's that you let fear dictate your life. And when that happens, you're not the author of your story. You're just a puppet being pulled by imaginary strings. If you want freedom, erase the question, what if it goes wrong, from your mind. Instead ask, what will happen if I don't do this? What part of you will die if you keep living like this? Freedom isn't for people who run. It's for those who face the storm and take action anyway. There's a lie society tells men early, that letting go equals giving up, weakness, failure. So you hold on. You cling to the rotten relationship. You stay in the job that drains your soul. You carry anxieties that never become real. You think gripping everything tightly is strength. But it's not. That grip is what's wearing you down. No one teaches you how to let go. They only teach you how to tough it out, how to act fine, how to pretend you're in control, how to put on the face of strength. But the truth is, you're being steered by fear. Fear of seeming like a failure, fear of losing your image, fear of no longer being validated. That's not strength. That's dependence. Real strength only shows up when you're clear-eyed enough to look at what's keeping you locked up and say, I don't need this anymore. Letting go isn't lazy or careless. It's intentional. It's knowing what's truly yours and what isn't. It's choosing to stop wasting your energy on pleasing, proving, or maintaining a sense of control that's always been an illusion. A grown man doesn't need to win every argument, keep every relationship, or make everyone happy. He knows what he's moving toward, and anything outside that path, he's ready to release. Letting go is the first step to reclaiming control of your life. No longer pulled by petty distractions. No longer swayed by impulsive emotions. No longer trapped in a role you never chose. When you learn how to let go at the right time, you don't lose yourself, you find yourself again. Strong men aren't those who control everything. They're the ones who know they don't need to and still stand firm. And men like that, they don't break easily. You may not admit it, but most of what you call communication is actually a subtle attempt to control others. You say things not to share, but to gain agreement. You act not because you believe in it, but because you want someone to like you, approve of you, admire you. You try to be funny, polite, charming, not because that's who you are, but because you're trying to pull someone closer. And you call that connection. But a connection built on control is destined to break. A relationship based on managing someone else's feelings, manipulating their reactions, or shaping yourself into a version that's more palatable has no depth. It's just a long-running performance, and the better the actor, the lonelier the soul. If you want something real, stop trying to control. Stop trying to change people, mold them into your ideal, or expect them to respond exactly the way you want. Accept that people weren't born to fit your framework. Accept that sometimes they won't understand, won't agree, won't reciprocate. Accept the uncertainty, the differences, the disappointments, because that's the price of something genuine. Strangely enough, when you stop trying to impress, you become more likable. When you stop persuading, people start listening. When you no longer seek attention, you somehow get it more. Because deep down, humans are drawn to those who don't need anything from them. Love, friendship, respect. They only last when you have the courage to be yourself and the grace to let others do the same. No pushing, no pulling, no leading, just presence. And if they stay, you'll know it's because of your real self. If they walk away, at least you're not left playing a role. You think life will obey you if you're good enough, careful enough, or hold things tight enough. But that's the biggest illusion you carried from youth. You try to control outcomes, timing, emotions, people, events, as if you're the center of a universe that responds to your plans. And then you burn out. Not because you lack ability, but because you're fighting the very nature of life. It's not meant to be controlled. The harder you try to control everything, the messier it becomes. Relationships feel forced. Work becomes suffocating. Emotions rise and fall like a roller coaster. And you don't understand why, despite doing everything right, things aren't working. You're confused because you're looking in the wrong direction. The problem isn't that you haven't done enough, it's that you refuse to let go. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means refusing to stick your hands into what's beyond your reach. It means stepping back to make space. It means stopping your obsession with forcing things to happen on your schedule. When you stop clinging, space opens up. Opportunities come out of nowhere. Ideas appear once your mind isn't choking them. The right people start arriving when you stop chasing the wrong ones. Some things can't happen when you're tense. Just like clenched fists can't receive anything new. When you relax, everything starts to click. Not because you control better, but because you stop interrupting the natural flow of life. That's why calm people often get more done than those constantly worried. They don't fight life. They work with it. Your fear is that if you let go, things will fall apart. But the truth is the opposite. Things only fall into place when you stop trying to force them. And in that moment, you realize order doesn't come from control. It comes from knowing your role and knowing when to step back. How many years have you wasted trying to make everything perfect? The flawless career, the relationship without a single scratch, the emotions always in check. You thought if you were careful enough, tried hard enough, followed the rules well enough, life would run smoothly. But by now, haven't you realized that perfection doesn't exist, and worse, it never made you happy? Life isn't an equation you can solve right, it's a flow. With curves and turbulence, with clarity and murk. And its beauty lies exactly in that imperfection. If you keep trying to bend it to your will, you won't just break, you'll muddy the water for everyone. Nothing truly valuable in this life comes from perfection. Happiness doesn't come when everything's right. It comes when you know how to live even when everything's wrong. Peace doesn't come from the world being calm. It comes from not needing the world to be calm in order to feel okay. When you let go of the need to control everything, you begin to actually live. When you stop trying to patch every crack, you start to see beauty in the crack itself. People are the same. Someone who's been hurt, who's failed, who's lost, but still chooses to live, to love, to believe, is more admirable than any so-called perfect model. You don't need a perfect life to live meaningfully. You just need a real one, rough, messy, but honest. And if you're brave enough to live fully in the midst of what's incomplete, life will offer you things perfection never could: depth, resilience, and inner freedom. Accepting imperfection doesn't mean giving up. It's the moment you stop demanding life to be what it isn't and start loving it for what it is. In that moment, you're no longer someone running away. You're someone who's finally present. Thank you for being here. If you found this video helpful, subscribe, turn on notifications, and like this video. Don't forget to leave a comment so we can spread positivity together.